Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Conspicuously Unfucking It show. That's what it's going to be tonight. Yeah, so we've got a bunch of topics we're going to talk about tonight. Most of it's going to come down to the fact is, you see, we'll start this off and say, Ann Callaghan, the awesome Ann Callaghan next to me, or I don't know how you guys are seeing her. To me, she's sitting right here next to me. We had this amazing conversation yesterday. Started off on one topic, steamrolled into another, and was like, oh, we definitely need to discuss this. This is really, really timely. This is really, really important shit. So I set everything up for us to do the show tonight. And now I really don't remember what we were talking about. And really, Ann doesn't either. Like, we have some of the highlight points, but the actual flow of it is disappeared. So we are gonna get into the topics, and hopefully it'll start flowing again a little more smoothly. But new rule has been instituted now. When conversations happen and they start to get really good, we're just going to hit record. No preamble, just fucking hit record. So at least we have records of these brain farts. I am the queen of brain farts at the moment. So the first thing we're going to talk about, first off, Sunday night's Conspicuous Views show. Now, a lot of you guys who are here live with us now were there live with us on Sunday night at exactly 1 hour, 12 minutes into the show. I'm talking about the assholes in charge, or perceivably in charge, and the fact that saying they're not winning. They're not going to win. All the shit that they're doing, like the chemtrailing and all this crap, it is not working, and they're not going to win. And then, as I said those words, all of a sudden there is, in the recording, a very, very strange crunch, boom, noise, and then the whole screen goes black for a second, and then it comes back and it just goes on. Yeah, like a crash. Yeah, like it was like a crash, and the screen goes completely black for a second, and then it just goes on. So no one that I know of, and correct me if I'm wrong, no one that I know of who was watching the show on the live stream saw it happen. No one who was here with us on the live audience in the Zoom room saw it happen. Mostly everyone's like I was there, did not fucking happen. Where it gets interesting, though, is Brianna, who missed the last half of the show, went back to re-listen to the whole show on Tuesday. I put the recording out on the Monday, so it was out by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday. It was up on YouTube, my time. Tuesday afternoon or evening, Brianna goes to listen to it. And she's the one who spots this crash noise, and the screen goes black, and it comes back. And she thought it was her. You thought, Brianna, it was just your computer glitching, didn't you?
Sorry, my mouth. Yeah, I honestly, I thought it was my computer was going glitchy and bizarre, which would be, the noise itself was so bizarre. And all those who heard it, it was like a crashing sound. And then the screen going completely black. So yeah, I thought it was my computer. I pressed off, carefully went back, listened again, same thing, did it again like 3 times. No way, this didn't happen. And by curiosity, I took a glimpse at first I went into the UnFuckers room straight away, and I was like, it's Danny. I tagged poor Danny. It was like 11 p.m. my time. Danny, did you see what happened on your show at minute? And I put the minute, at 1.20 or 12 or whatever. There's the sound, and that happened. And I thought it was a bit bizarre because I saw nobody commenting, but, a lot of stuff happened in the meantime. So I put it out. We talk about it this morning, today being Wednesday.
Yep.
We talked about it with Danny. So I watched this video Tuesday evening my time, Tuesday night almost my time, when it happened. Danny posted this thing. We look back on the comments. It seems that 90% of the people who watched the YouTube video, so the same that I saw before, like Monday right after Danny uploaded it, did not hear and see that glitch. It saw nothing.
Nope.
I go to YouTube, I look at all the comments, and there's quite a lot of comments, which are all on different topics of Danny's discussion. Nothing, not one comment about the glitch. Everybody who saw it immediately went like, oh, wow, oh my God. I mean, that's the thing, you can't miss it. Somebody, at least a few people would have said, you know, oh, what did that happen? You know how people do, and they tag the hour and say, look at this minute and this second, there was this big glitch. Wow, what happened? Nothing.
No.
So that's twice as bizarre, because it seems not only did you not hear it while being in the Zoom, in the live,
Nope.
it also didn't seem to appear until at least sometime Tuesday. Or, I don't know, I saw it Tuesday night. What I got to tell Danny, which may or may not be related, is when I was done doing all that, what is that glitch? You know, I got a little bit fussed over it because it was bizarre, utterly bizarre, especially the timing, you know, first saying, like, really in an affirmative tone, they are not winning, bang, crash, black screen. And then I live in an apartment. I hear my front door slamming loudly, like someone who would walk out or in, and really loudly slamming the door. I live alone. And it was, you know, it was like almost midnight. So I was like, grabbing the gun and going to check, or ignoring it because it's just another fuck up. Honestly, I didn't go, which is bizarre in itself. Any normal, sane person would go check. I did not. I decided to go to bed, and I did check the door this later today, and you know, there's nothing. I mean, there's not even a trace of somebody trying to mess with the doors. And anyway, the sound was a door loudly being slammed, like in a fury, like bam, you know, and it actually so hard. I have a second set of glass doors. They shook. It was slammed so loudly, there was even the draft effect. Not only the sound, but there was a draft effect on my inside glass doors that shook. So what the fuck is going on? And I'm done. I don't want it happening again. No door slamming now.
Yeah, especially not rattling the glass doors. That's when it gets like, no.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
When I was watching it live, I did hear a crashing sound. I didn't know what it was. I thought, well, maybe something fell off, you know, your shelf or something, but you didn't react to anything. So I'm like, that's weird. But I did hear it live.
You're the only person who heard it live then, hon, that I know of. I haven't seen anyone else say that they've heard it live. Like I said, almost everyone here who's in the room tonight was there on Sunday. Like a good, probably like 75% of everyone. And no one else heard it live. And no one who watched the live stream heard it live. So it wasn't even just like a Zoom, YouTube live stream type thing. And what's interesting is, like I said, I asked in the UnFuckers room today, it's like, so if you watched the video, did you watch it Monday? And if you watched it Monday, did you see it on Monday? Or if you went and watched it Tuesday, like after I said to people, like, go, and I actually isolated the clip. It's like a 1 and 45 seconds long clip that I've isolated. I put it up on RTS Earth. So you can just go directly to it and watch the clip. The people who watched it Monday did not hear the crash or see the screen go black. It was only perceivably after Tuesday. Now, interesting is, Lemon, you just said we did have a shift on Tuesday. I know because it moved my house 2 feet to the right. I woke up and walked into a wall. I had Tuesday. Wild freaking dizzy spells like that the whole earth going sideways. It started around 5:30, 6 o'clock, about 6 o'clock my time here in Central European time. And I literally was multiple times for about 4-hour time period where I kept holding on to furniture because I literally felt like the whole world was just kind of shifting all over the place. So I don't know. That's the big one for us today, is just having watched that play out. That was the one. Like I said, the video clip's up on RTS Earth. You can go find it. It's just was posted today. The next thing was Tuesday morning. I have a play date on the beach with all of our homeschooling friends. We go to the beach every Tuesday morning at 9:30 in the morning. And this is a very small beach. It's a very narrow beach. It's very, very tiny. And there's a row of trees at the back of the beach by the street edge. And usually we always sit back there so you get a little bit of shade from the trees to get under so you don't get too hot. We got to the beach on Tuesday morning at 9:30, just like we always do. And the shadows from the buildings across the road covered half of the beach. Now, this was so shocking that even my 2 daughters stopped and went, why is there no sun on the beach? Why is this beach like almost completely in a shadow? Never seen it before. It was just bizarre. Now, Jalen, as we've been talking pre-show before going live, Jalen, you said that you saw the sun has shifted because Jalen watches the sky like a hawk and films every day. You said you saw it on Friday that the sun had shifted. Correct?
Yes, it did. Like you said, I go out every day and I shoot the sun. I try to get it about the same time every day and within minutes. And I had to go stand in a different spot to get it. And where I've been getting it, I had to go back in the spider webs and the bees and all that kind of stuff. And I hated going back there. So trust me, I knew I didn't like going back there. And this day I didn't have to on Friday, the 25th. I just went over to a different spot, which I go to every day because I don't want to go in the back. And there it was, just at the same time. And it cleared. I don't know if we've shifted maybe a degree or 2 or 3, a tilt, a wobble, or what. I don't know what's going on. And that's not the only thing. Twilight has changed for me too. I'd have to go back and look, but it's gotten. Within 5 minutes, twilight changed from one night to the next. That it was so dark that my pictures came out so dark you couldn't even see. The night before, it was a beautiful blue twilight. Yeah. It was a 5-minute difference. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I just found that strange too.
Well, that's interesting because I actually walked out tonight. Nick always has to go back to work at 7 o'clock every night to close down the buildings and etc. So at 7 o'clock every night, like at 10 to 7, he's walking out the door. And the same thing, he walked out. I went out to the back to go have a smoke out on the back terrace and thought, holy crap, it's dark. How can it be this dark already? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's kind of like a daily routine type thing. Same thing where it's like you always go out around the same time. And it was very apparent to me. It was like, why does it feel so dark so soon? It shouldn't be this dark this soon. So yeah, I noticed that as well. So putting that call out to everyone, because I know we got a bunch of sun gazers and a bunch of people who keep note of the sky and all that. So the last time we talked about a shift of the sun, I immediately got a pile of comments back and messages and emails from people going, holy crap, yep. Like all of a sudden the sun is setting in a different spot or rising in a different spot, and I saw it myself. So if you notice something, let us know. There's been a lot of shit going on. So I talked about it a bit on Sunday. We're going to get into it a little more again today because I want to talk about the time aspect. On Sunday on Transpacific Views, we talked about the fact that, I mean, we all know that linear time is doing just wild, like it's speeding up so fast. And we've talked about this for a couple of years now, really, but really a lot in the last 6 months. One of the things that I brought up on Sunday was crops coming in much faster than normal. Crops are being ready way, way faster than normal. And same thing, since the show, everyone watched the show, I have gotten a shitload of reports, emails, comments on Facebook saying, oh my God, I thought it was just a fluke. But yeah, I've had so many things come in early. I can't remember if I talked about this on the Sunday show or not. I think I did. My lady who I buy all my fresh produce from, who runs a farm. Generational farmer, as in it was her parents' farm, it was her grandparents' farm. Planted her watermelons in June so that they would be ready for September and had them all harvested by mid-August. They were ready a full 3-4 weeks early. Go back on Monday, go get some more stuff. And I said to her, I said, do you have any green beans again? This woman grows the most spectacular green beans I've ever eaten in my entire freaking life. So whenever there's a crop coming in, I'm always like, get a couple of kilos. She goes, I'm so mad. I said, what happened? She goes, they plant the beans and peas. They plant them in cycles. So like almost like in 3-week increments, they put in rows. So that basically throughout the summer, you have a continuous harvest kind of coming in. She planted a section of beans that should have been ready to harvest for the first week of September. She went out on Sunday to go check the bean, like just was going out past that section of the field, and all the beans were dead on the stick, overripe, dried up, and ready just basically to be harvested for planting again next year. She was like, that's not possible. They should not have been ready for another week. And yet here they are. They look like they've been sitting on the vine, drying out for at least 2 weeks. What she would have said would have been like 2 weeks of sitting there. I'm getting reports from, and it's not just, here in Europe. It's like people are talking about it in North America, how stuff is coming in way, way, way too early. Stuff in friends that I've got talked about in Australia, same type of stuff. So that's one of the aspects of time that I look at as far as we talk about time speeding up and sometimes slowing down, but mostly time speeding up. And then when we see things that are, let's say, outside of the control of the calendar and the clock, i.e. things that are growing in the garden. They don't care what the calendar says or what the clock says. They're growing on their own cycle. And yet, boom, here we have it all out of sync. Since I talked about it, I said women's menstrual cycles are, again, really, really fucked up. A lot of people, again, reported that, like, being at least a full week early with menstrual cycles. Yeah, Patrick, okay, that's interesting too. So the fruit is just weird, half rotten and the other half not even ripe. And that's one of the things that I said too, I noticed this year, is the stuff that you picked, I would get fresh carrots. Now normally you get fresh carrots, you put them in the fridge. They're good for a week. They're good for a good week, like proper carrots, not genetically modified, but proper good old-fashioned carrots. And I'm putting them in the fridge, and the next day pulling out of the bag and finding rotting carrots in the bag, finding rotting tomatoes. And same thing, we've had the peaches and the nectarines in Malta are fantastic. Like, we have really, really good stone fruit here. And yet it's like either you get, one day you get them and they're hard, like they're not quite ripe. And then the next day it's like they're already rotting. I have to buy peaches now in like 4 or 5 peaches at a time, where usually I would buy like a kilo of peaches because you'd have them for a couple of days. Now I'm literally having to buy them almost daily because I can't take the chance. Because I buy them today, 2 days, they're done. They're toast. You might as well just chuck them out. Or turn them into pie, which I also do. Okay, so well, this is it. Are we looking at a change in the sun? For me, so I always lay on the sun. I love the sun. I have loved the sun my entire life. I don't do sunscreen. I always lay out in the sun, go walking. To me, the sun feels much more normal now in the last year than it has done in the last 3 or 4 years. When we were in Morocco, we commented on the fact the sun felt prickly. Like as soon as you walked into the sun, you had this almost a burning sensation on your skin. When I was in Australia, even though we got there in end of February, even as we were going into the Australian winter, if you went out in the sun during the day, it could be a lovely sunny day and maybe it was 19, 20 degrees. I could stand in that sun and literally within minutes, I felt like my skin was burning. Since coming back to Malta, I don't feel that the same way. It doesn't feel that burning. So is it a change in the sun? I mean, like I said, I'm talking to farmers here who are generational farmers, and they're saying things. It's not a matter of, oh, we had lots of water this year, so therefore the fields are coming in faster, or we've had good sun. No, a watermelon takes X amount of weeks to fucking grow regardless. It doesn't matter. So even the farmers are discounting like the weather, and they're saying, no, this is just fucking weird. No, and that's it, Jalen. I was out today with the kids. We went up late to the beach today. Like it was like 4 o'clock before we got out of the house. And I mean, I got into the water once, and then I sat on the beach for 45 minutes while they were swimming. And at no point in time was I at that point of like, oh my God, I'm frying. I feel like I'm crisping. No. So yeah, you got to wonder. Time is doing strange shit. We have the sun moving into what seemingly, perceivably, is moving into different positions. What the hell is going on? Is the sun shifted because time has shifted and maybe we've jumped 3 weeks ahead, and that's why suddenly twilight is now much earlier and the shadows on the ground are in the wrong places because like almost somehow we've jumped 3 weeks in advance and we're now like, I don't know, mid-September instead of being the end of August? I don't know. The other thing that's been really, really a massive topic of conversation in the UU group has been how people are feeling in this last week especially. How they're feeling kind of broad spectrum, how they're feeling physically, how they're feeling mentally, how they're feeling emotionally, how they're feeling consciously, if you will. Right now, everyone's fucking sick. And I mean everyone across the fucking planet. It doesn't matter if you're in North America, if you're in Canada, if you're in the States, it's Northern Canada, Southern States. It doesn't matter if you're in Northern Europe, down here in the Mediterranean, or Australia, or Indonesia. Everyone I have spoken to is sick. And it is coming in waves. And it's the people with the colds, heavy sinuses, coughing, choking, lots of phlegm, but not really. It's productive, i.e. in that you're coughing up phlegm, etc., but it's not productive in the fact of it never goes anywhere. It's not like it escalates to a fever point, you hit up here, and then you come back down the other side and you start to get better. It's like it hits here, and it just stays at this level straight across. And for some people, it's been weeks. It's been weeks of battling with these symptoms. But the one that creeped up, and I got a lot of responses from people on this, was this feeling of feeling sick to your stomach. Now, there's some people it was all like a stomach flu. Like people were throwing up, they had diarrhea, they had all kinds of gastric and digestive issues, especially over the last week. Some people, it wasn't to the point of actually throwing up, but they've had these moments where they're like, no, I don't think I want to eat dinner tonight. I just don't feel well. No, my stomach does not feel happy with me at all. Maybe I'm just going to have a bowl of cereal for dinner, or maybe I'm just going to eat this apple for dinner. Again, it's been overwhelming, the amount, and it doesn't matter if you're in England or fucking in Malta or you're in fucking Los Angeles. It's right across the board. So I've been kind of looking at that and going, so of course you had the whole thing, first of all, of the fucking eclipse. And of course NASA announcing that they were going to put balloons up in the air full of bacteria, because, that's what you want to do. And they've changed the story. They changed the story, or I won't say NASA changed the story. Let's just say the media changed their reporting on the story from the time they first announced those balloons going up to like the day before the eclipse with the updates, where it sounded like they were sending up a highly mutagenic bacteria, which we know they sent MRSA up to the space station and all this other crap, to then them trying to like go, no, it's just like a soil bacteria. It's really common. It grows kind of everywhere. No, you don't have to worry about it. And then everyone's sick. And there's a lot of people who are tying it to that and saying, okay, there's the big question. Did they fucking release something into the atmosphere that literally made everyone fucking sick? I don't know. But you have the other stuff that's going on at the same time. Like I say, it's not just physical. So we've had symptoms of complete and utter exhaustion. How many people have been just literally exhausted, especially this last week? Joint pain. Pains in bizarre places. I had pains in my frickin' thumbs this week. My thumbs ached so bad that I couldn't open a jar. I couldn't open the coffee jar. And how desperate is that when I can't open the frickin' coffee jar? People were having nightmares. A lot of people were having nightmares. And if they weren't having nightmares, they were having very, very strange dreams. Very, very strange dreams. Nighttime, just feeling uncomfortable, like not being able to sleep properly. Even if you do sleep, and this has been me for the last 6 days. I think I'm now on my 7th day. I have not slept properly in 7 days. To the point of the last 2 nights, I've gone to bed actually almost like, okay, I'll go to sleep. But it's not that nice, you get into bed and you're like, oh, it feels so good to lay down. Oh, this is so good to go to sleep. No, it's almost like dreading it. It's been weird fucking dreams for me every night. I don't remember them. I don't remember them except to wake up and go, what the fuck was I just dreaming? Seriously weird fucking shit. Feeling uncomfortable, waking up multiple times in the middle of the night, and just because you're physically uncomfortable in your body, like your back hurts, your shoulder hurts, your legs hurt, your hips hurt, whatever. So we're seeing this. So then you've got like this physical kind of responses and symptoms that people have been having. Emotionally, people have been all over the frickin' place. From extreme highs to extreme lows, and they seem to just explode with no rhyme or reason, like just like boom, and you're so angry, you literally want to rip someone's head off and beat them with it. And it comes out of the blue. To extremely sad, like just tears bucketing down, and it's just, again, out of the blue. Unbelievable. And mentally, same thing. Not just the emotional up and downs, but just the mental aspect of it. There's been things where you start reading stories and you read a news story and you just instantly like, oh my God, I'm so angry. and it's trying to put things together and trying to work things out. And the brain fog has been like unbelievable. Okay, well, and Deb, we're going to get into that. We are going to talk about some of that shit as well. And this was some of the stuff that Ann and I started discussing yesterday. Because it's off the charts. Now, I had multiple days. In the last week and a half, 2 weeks, but in the last week, I've had multiple days where I have literally lost my fucking shit. Lost my shit. Ended up in rage out moments where I was so angry, and for stupid things. Like, it's the kind of thing that when you get yourself calm and you look at whatever it was that the incident was that started it all off, you go, really? How could you have reacted? How could you have overreacted that way to this one little comment or one little news article, etc.? Wild. Just wild. And it's, Brianne and I have been having a joke because apparently her and I are on the exact same wavelength, because when I blow up, apparently she blows up usually too, or vice versa. Luckily, we have Ann and Gail who keep us kind of calm, somewhat. There has been weird shit. I can't say how many mornings I've woken up in the last week and gone, what the actual fuck is going on? So, and now that I've rambled on for like, fucking 30 fucking minutes, I want to talk about the physical stuff. If you've seen, as a homeopath, some of the shit that you're seeing is really, really interesting as well.
Yeah, when we were talking the other morning, Danny, after we finished talking, I was thinking, gosh, what we're saying reminds me of what I see with super sensitive children. Most of the work that I do is with sensitive or super sensitive children. Now, when it's about it's actually very difficult to put language on this, because we're talking about energy, and our language, as we know, is just, is really clunky around energy. But it's like when we're born, the programming goes in. Some of us, the sensitives, I would say anyone in the UU group is a sensitive of some, is sensitive to quite a degree. So if you're just sensitive, then you are able to deal with the programming in some way or other. We develop strategies, we develop armoring, we develop ways of dealing with the shittiness of this place, in other words. And okay, so that's the regular sensitive person. Then the super sensitive is not able to deal with the programming. It's like they cannot interface with the fear programming, most particularly, because their energy body is far less protected and less able to deal with the collective influences. And what happens with super sensitives is that they go supernova, actually, when there's a buildup of energy. There's a particular syndrome called pathological demand avoidance, for instance. And the way I see that is, it's like a house. You're like a house with very faulty wiring, right? Electrical wiring. And if you plug in the washing machine and the dishwasher at the same time, it goes boom. So these kids, the super sensitives who have, syndromes like the PDA, they live constantly in a state of high anxiety because they never know what the straw is going to be. They don't know what's going to kick them off. And so they have, their antenna are out there the entire time. They live in this state of dread because they absolutely don't know what's going to kick them off. And when they hit overload, they blow somehow. Very often they go into, they'll do things that are actually reckless. I treated one young lad who would run, he just ran straight across the road in front of a car. Didn't care. I mean, he had to, the energy was so intolerable that he had to move, and he didn't care if he died. He absolutely didn't. And that's what this overload of energy does to people who are super sensitive. They actually can't deal with it. Now, the thing is that it seems to me, as we've been undoing our programming for God knows how many years now, along with undoing the programming becomes an increase in sensitivity, or comes an increase in sensitivity. So the armoring that we took on in order to deal with this shitty world, as we peel off the programming, we become resensitized, and we were talking about that the other morning, Danny, the feeling of being raw and being vulnerable and being exposed also, because energetically our energy fields are softening up, and we're tuning into the collective far more than we did before. I was saying to you on the show, or on the talk the other morning, that just giving you the example of this young boy who was in a school for super sensitives, and in this particular school, it's called.
Oh yes, that is a phenomenal story. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this young kid really couldn't deal with education very much. And this is a fantastic school called Nature Kids. They don't have to go into the classroom unless they feel like it. So when they go in the morning, if their energy is ungrounded and unstable, the children can sit up a tree all day if that's what they need to do. So this particular kid hardly ever went into the classroom. He's very, very sensitive. But this morning, when he was dropped off from, 8:30 in the morning or whatever, he belted into the classroom. He took out a big sheet of paper and he started drawing these really frantic drawings with black and red and boom, explosions and everything. And the teachers are going, what the heck is going on? And it turned out that was 11/7, the day of the London bombings. And he was drawing at exactly the time the bombs were going off. Now, he was in a totally other part of England, but this child, the super sensitive, was picking up the collective energy and expressing it in the only way that he could.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that that's part of what's happening to us, that we are becoming super sensitive. And we've had episodes of that here in the UU room, because I don't know if I said this on another show, but there was one morning Brianna and I were on message together, and I sneezed. I often sneeze in the morning really loudly, and I sneezed so loudly that particular morning, and Brianna goes, that's really strange. I just heard somebody sneeze. So she picked up over the airways something that she didn't hear, but she knew.
Yeah.
So we're getting to a point now. And this was another thing that we were talking about. It was going beyond language and becoming really real with each other.
Yeah.
And this is one of the kind of the interpersonal challenges of this time, because in order to deal with programming is a lie. We know it's all a lie. So in order to live in the programmed world, we learned to lie. We learned to not make ourselves vulnerable, to not speak the truth most of the time. The interesting thing about Asperger's children, for instance, is that they can't lie. They have to speak the truth. And that is very challenging for us, because for most of us, we've grown up with it's not okay to speak the truth. But what's happening now is that everybody can feel what's going on behind your words. So it's not possible anymore. I did that to somebody during the week. I was in a shite humour, really, really very shite humour. And anyway, I was on message with somebody and I was in shite. and I wrote what appeared to be a civilized comment, but actually the energy behind it was horrible. And I felt that energy hitting the other person. And I just thought, oh my God, I've just sent this wave of incongruent. And this is the other thing. It's terribly confusing for people when your energy body is saying something and your words are saying something different. And this is causing a lot of trouble because we've got to start just really being aware of what we're sending out. We're very powerful transmitters. And now that we're all so much more sensitive, if you send out a blast of nasty energy, you might as well go up and punch someone in the stomach, because that's what it feels like to be super sensitive. And I really feel that we've got to be aware, just aware of our energy field and aware of what we're doing with it and aware of how we're using it, rather than blasting the energy out. You know, which we could do before when we were less sensitive. You could blast energy at people and they maybe notice, maybe not. But now, you know, it can be really quite damaging for, if you hit someone who's very vulnerable with a blast of energy, it's not very pleasant. Yes. So they were the sort of things that we started talking about. What else? Well,
interesting, Ann, because I want to touch on this specific. I had an awesome experience on Monday, which was kind of like the finality of the whole buildup of my week, and was like, that's why Tuesday morning I was like, I gotta talk to Ann first thing in the morning about what I experienced. We're becoming more sensitive, and it's kind of like, and I joked with Ann. I said, there's a TV show, and you guys from North America, if you've got kids, you might know it. It's a cartoon show for kids called Jimmy Neutron. It was out a couple of years ago. And in one of the, he's a boy genius, and he like builds rockets and goes to outer space and the whole bit. Typical, you know, fantasy kind of stuff. He makes pills for all of him and his buddies to get superpowers. So they all become superheroes. They've got like super strength, and one of them's invisible, and one of them can fly, and all the rest of it. And they're going to save their town. Well, of course, because they have no practice with their superpowers, for the first half of the show, they pretty much destroy the town. Now, the kitty's stuck up in the tree, and to get the kitty out of the tree, they end up ripping the tree completely out of the roots and knocking it into a car and crushing a house and the whole bit. And that's kind of like what I feel we're kind of going through right now. As we become more sensitive, as we become more aware of the abilities that we have, we don't know how to integrate the information yet. And when you don't, so sometimes you can't even recognize the information. And like I said, and I'll get to this in a second, I had an amazing experience Monday night that really brought things to a sharp focus for me. Sometimes you don't realize that you're getting all this extra information in. You don't recognize the fact that you're picking up all these energetics, you're picking up people's emotional signals, you're picking up their undercurrent feeling, but you just know that, like, you can read a post and you go, oh, your words might say all pretty light, fluffy unicorn fart shit, but that's fucking nasty. That I can feel that this person is actually being a fucking bitch underneath you, and you get it intuitively. You can feel this. So Monday night, okay, small backstory, because I like to ramble. You know me, I always ramble. You know, my history of getting into all of this kind of aspect of stuff was the work that I did in maternal and infant health. And about a month ago, I don't know, I started getting the feeling that the universe was telling me I need to get back involved into this area again. And then we went to a birthday party a couple of weeks ago, and I met a lovely young British couple here with a 3-week-old baby. And she's having some issues breastfeeding, and she's having some issues with this and that. So I ended up spending the entire birthday party sitting with this young mom, helping her, giving her some advice, helping her work through some different, answering questions, just being supportive. So then I hear from a girlfriend of mine who runs a wellness center here in Gozo, that there's 2 midwives are going to be doing basically a special breastfeeding support group here in Gozo. It's going to be once a week, et cetera, because the breastfeeding rates in Malta are atrocious. They're like less than 1%. It's horrific, the breastfeeding rates. So they're really, really want to see this succeed. They want to give support to young moms who are breastfeeding and help too. And they've got some great ideas. The one lady, as soon as I met her, loved her to pieces instantly. She had this awesome motherly energy, the kind of midwife that you kind of wish, at least I wish I'd had when I was having my kids. Like, she's just really, really motherly and warm and lovely. The other midwife, though, I was like, right off the hop, I was like, oh, you have an agenda. There's something here that you're just not, you're not open like the other woman is. There's something there. So we sat, and I'd called this young mom and said, hey, they're going to do this thing on breastfeeding. Do you want to come? She was like, oh, absolutely. Turned out her and her husband were the only ones who showed up for this, as far as like a support group aspect, which was great because the discussion then became much more open and personal instead of being like a presentation. And the conversation went everywhere. It talked about birthing. It got into the vaccine stuff. And as soon as it got into the vaccine stuff, my friend, who I've been friends with for like 27 years, goes, yeah, you may want to talk to Danny about that. She'll give you some information on that. And the husband was there. And the young lady, I really, really like her. Really, she's just a lovely, lovely person. The husband was there giving his perspective on it. And I kind of was really interested because around the group, so there was 6 of us sitting there. By the end of the evening, they were all saying to him, oh, you're such a wonderful, supportive husband. Oh, Sophie is so lucky to have you there. You're so supportive. And all I could think of was like, you're a fucking asshole. You are a manipulative asshole, and you are manipulating your wife. And it was so plain to me. It was so clear to me. The interactions, the way he spoke, I literally could, I could get from her what was going on in her mind. At one point, she'd already told the story about why she wasn't vaccinating her child, and it's because she's got a horrible backstory of her identical twin died because of a vaccine when her twin was an infant. So she's like, I'm not vaccinating my baby. And not 15 minutes later, he's like, well, we are going to get the DTaP vaccine. And I'm just feeling it from her like horrific waves. She's just like, you may think so, but no, we're not fucking happening. And I can get from him this whole here's a British word for you, smarmy. Like, he's just like, I'll make this happen. This is going to be. And all the way through the conversation, while it looked like to everyone else he was being this wonderful, supportive husband, I was just like, you're a fucking asshole. Leave this poor woman alone. How can you be such a fucking asshole? And it was shocking to me that no one got it. No one else picked up on this. And I thought about this afterwards. It was like, it was a real hit for me to see, like, this is the kind of information I'm now receiving. I'm now sensitive enough to be receiving this kind of information. Now I have to learn to be able to integrate it. To be able to integrate it in a calm, balanced fashion. And it put a whole perspective on a lot of the shit that we've seen play out in the UU group for the last couple of months especially. We have seen people lose their shit. We have seen massive fights happen, arguments, etc. And a lot of the onlookers don't get it. To them, it's just bitchy bickering. It's like, why are you guys just drop it? Just drop the subject. Because they don't feel the undercurrent of what's actually being said, what's actually being expressed. And it's really interesting because people are taking offense. And the other person, someone might make a comment that, like I said, looks really all love and light and pretty on the outside. And then someone takes offense to the comment. And then that person gets jumped on. Well, how could you take offense? Because that person was sensitive enough to read the fucking energy behind that pretty love and light sentence. Behind it was like a really bitchy energy that someone was snide and miserable. And then you respond and you get triggered. I hate using the trigger word, but it's true. You are triggered. You get triggered by these energetic, like smack in the face that you get from someone. And then you've got to figure out how to deal with it. And that's where I think we are right now. Mm. It seems to me that some of what we're experiencing in this last week is an uptick. Is like all of a sudden that like less shields. We've become a little more open. But now we have to learn how to use that superpower. And we have to learn how to be able to integrate it. And we also have to learn now how to communicate differently. Because now people are seeing the energy behind words. You can't hide behind pretty words if it's not there. If the energy isn't there, people see it, they feel it, they get it immediately, which means we now have to move to a brand new form of communication. We have to move beyond this fucking language bullshit and have to move into a space where we're not just communicating with verbal words or written words, we're communicating on an emotional level. And knowing and being responsible for the energy we're putting out and the energy that we're communicating in. Because you can no longer hide behind pretty words. You can no longer hide behind that, well, that's not what I meant. Or I didn't mean it a bad way. Yeah, you did. Sorry, but it's like, because now people are getting it. People are seeing it, they're going, yeah, you absolutely meant that in a bad way. Don't fucking bullshit me. So this is good. I have a feeling that we're going to see this expand. That this is like just the latest level. And Ann and I were joking yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully this is it. Hopefully this is it. And we say, for years now, we've been going, oh, man, hopefully this is it. And it just ups the level again. And you're like, oh, my God, oh, please let this be it. And then it ups it. So we're still back to this. Hopefully we've kind of reached like the pinnacle point now. Let this just, we're at the end. This is it. This is it. We can't take much more. But I have a feeling it's going to go exponentially even more so beyond this.
Mm. Mm. We were also laughing, Danny, about, I was talking about a conference for adult or autistics, right? So you go down to the table in the morning and there's all these badges and it's like, don't talk to me until I talk to you. And in fact, I mean, they're so, in a way, it's very healthy because it's very straight up. It's like, I'm super sensitive today. Don't open your mouth. Don't touch me today or else, you know. And we've got to learn how to say these things to each other and be okay with it. You know, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's finding a way to do that without harming other people. I think is very important.
Mm.
Yeah,
very much so. And it comes back to, again, I know I sound like a fucking broken record, but it comes back to responsibility.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and if you do lash out and someone calls you on it, you got to be the big person and be like, yeah, you're right. I was being a bitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you don't own up to it, everyone's going to, or at least not everyone, but a lot of people are going to know that you're basically lying. That's what it comes across. You're basically lying.
Yeah, and it's a big waste of energy as well, Danny, because it's not congruent. You go into that confusion of, well, is that true? Is that really true? What am I feeling? And that's a waste of energy. You know, if we can be clear with each other, we can move forward a lot faster. Yeah.
Oh, Patrick. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so Patrick just put a comment in. He just said, being deaf, I have had to learn body language, and many are not congruent.
Yeah.
Like I said, I used to be a translator in the church when I was young. I was a sign language translator, and I used to translate all the sermons into sign language. And two of really good friends of mine were deaf, and deaf from birth. And the one, David, was very, very funny, because if someone lied, he'd just sit there and he would go, yeah, lying. And it used to be, my dad used to joke and say, like, he wished he could have, like, had David there for every job interview, that when my dad would have to hire people, we just have David sitting in the room just going, no, he's lying. Lying.
Yes.
He's lying. Because the same thing, they become, when you're deaf, you take away one sense, you become, your other senses become that much more heightened that they pick up on it. And I always used to joke, and you say, never lie to a deaf person, because your body language will betray you every freaking time, and they'll know about it. Absolutely.
Mm.
So, another conversation, this one happened this morning. I was talking to Brianna this morning. And it seems that as we go along into this, there's the old expression, know your role. Know your role. And we don't all have the same role. And sometimes it becomes very, very hard to discern, how do I say this? It becomes very difficult to discern what someone else's role is, or how they act, react, etc. And it becomes down to personality, right? Like, as in, if you are a certain personality type, you may not understand certain other personality types, because you're not that person. You don't have those traits. Therefore, you have no experience in it. And it's very interesting, because we're seeing, I'd like to hear from you guys. I definitely want to hear from everyone on this one. It's as if we're seeing people stepping into their roles. And those that are the warriors are coming forward, and they have that energy. And they have a very distinct energy about them, feeling to them. And even when people who never considered themselves to be warriors, like that wasn't something that they ever, wanted to become when they grew up, are starting to step out and realize, like that's where their, if you will, their superpower, that where they're seemingly, for lack of a better word, their role is. You have other people who are very, very neutral observers, and they have the ability to sit in complete neutrality and be able to observe everything playing out. And you have other people who are really, really good at, whether it's like research, being able to go through vast amounts of information and be able to pull out the pieces that are relevant. They can really spot the relevant pieces that need to be brought to the table. There are some people who are just awesomely calm at all times, kind of like Ann over there, who's always calm. She keeps me calm sometimes. And sometimes we don't necessarily appreciate the other roles that other people are playing around us. Not that we don't appreciate them, but we maybe not fully comprehend them, because that's not our role. And it becomes really, really interesting watching people step into certain, attributes, maybe that's a better word than role, certain attributes. And then sometimes they jar, like they come to loggerheads. They because someone who is very, very neutral and is very calm maybe doesn't understand someone who is going about a certain situation in a certain way, because it doesn't match up with what their experience is. And one of the things I'm seeing right now is, like, along with this bearing of our sensitivities and us becoming so much more sensitive to the energy, is the accepting of different people and the roles that they play, and supporting each other, I guess. And I had this interesting conversation, like I said, with Brianna this morning. And I said, you know, it's like one of those things of someone who's the warrior needs all those other people who have all those other talents to help them do whatever job it is that they have to do. Whether it's providing a calm energy, whether it's providing information, whether it's providing balance and a good neutral observer's viewpoint of what is playing out, it all flows together. And it comes back to this thing of everybody working together and back to unity again. There's a unity there. Yeah, Andrea, we all have a piece of the puzzle, and we all have different attributes that we bring to the game board at the table. And appreciating those attributes and being able to work together with those attributes. Not judging because someone is ranting and raving, like I do quite regularly, or Brianna does occasionally. Not judging someone for being passive. Well, why are you just sitting there being neutral and passive? You should be angry about this. Why are you not standing up and fighting? Because that's not necessarily that person's role. And maybe their role is to be neutral and provide that observer standpoint, or that the information is needed, or just to provide a calm energy that acts as a buffer around the group working together. I don't know, did I say that well? I'm trying to bring again, language fucking sucks. Or at least English does. Everything comes back to unity. Everything keeps coming back to unity right now. And I cannot stress it enough. It's like everything that I see, everything that I'm personally experiencing is just driving home this thing that unity is the most important thing for us to work on. And that's going to mean being honest with each other, accepting each other, and that also comes with the belief systems too, right? Like I said, we need to work around this shit. We have to work around this shit. And working together in a way that complements each other. We all have abilities, and maybe even disabilities, if you will. And there are others around us who can support each of us in whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing right now. Yes, Teresa, you've got your hand up.
Well, I want to, hey everybody, what you're saying here, with all of my heart and my being, this is the key. To accept one another for each other's abilities, period, because we can't create without all of that together. You know, I mean, there is the destruction, there is the, blossoming, there is the neutrality. It's all so equally important that the only challenge is allowing that to all be important instead of picking each other apart and trying to pull somebody down to where you're at or up to where this one's at, or like you said, you got the warriors over here, you got the space holders over here. It's all so equally important. There is absolutely not one type of energy that isn't important to this new beginning. And I just wanted to confirm what you were saying, because it's all, I think about it all the time. And it is just so important. The warriors fighting with love. I mean, being able to, instead of tearing each other down is the part that's got to stop, because it's all important. All of it's important. That's all I wanted to say. So thank you for bringing that up, Dee. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, love. And thank you. And Deb just said, fighting over flat earth and all the other stuff needs to stop. All of those things are not important at this time. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Don't care if it's flat or a ball or a donut or a fucking pitchfork. Just don't care what shape the earth is. Who fucking cares? People need to put this aside, because all this And I always use flat earth as an example because at the moment it is, again, and it's the massive arguments and fighting and people. I know my hackles get up too, but mine mostly comes from a different side of that perspective. They are continuously pushing division in any way, shape, and form. You got, I'm sorry, the militant vegans out there fucking going off on anyone. How dare you have a fried egg for breakfast? Because, oh my God, you're going to burn in hell for the rest of your life. This has to stop. Flat earthers and the people who are on the holes, yes, thank you for your applause, Groot. And the people in the whole sphere, earth, whatever, this continuously battling each other, tear each other down, bitchiness, it has to stop. This fucking Democrats, Republicans, fucking bullshit, and it's all over the place. I'm watching this shit play out. This Christian Islam shit. Fucking even in the UnFuckers room, it plays out occasionally. It has to stop because every single time we pay into it, every bit of energy we pay into it is a point that they take in their favor. They win a fucking point and we lose a fucking point. So we need to start really, really pulling apart this stuff and start trying to get people to work together. Put aside all the pettiness, put aside the belief structures, put aside this kind of shit and start working together because everyone has something to offer. Everyone has amazing shit to offer. Everyone has a role in all this. But we have to, A, accept our role, and B, we have to accept other people's roles. And you can only do that when you stop fucking fighting. Yeah, divide and conquer, it's everywhere. And it's any point, it's gotten to the point now where they will create a divide and conquer meme, a divisionary separation meme out of anything. Anything that they think that they could throw, like to the point of like NASA's releasing balloons. People are like, oh, well, it won't work because it's, and then you get into the whole flat earth sphere earth thing. Or they're sending a rocket up, yeah, flat earth sphere earth thing. Oh, well, there's an eclipse. Oh, well, and then that turns into another whole thing of, oh, here's a bunch of new age people over here, and they're all going to do a grand global meditation. And these guys are over here, oh, it's all the government's coming to get us. They're going to release all these toxins. And no one will talk to each other. Is it any fucking wonder? Like, this is the shit that we need to fucking just destroy. We need to destroy the shit. We need to just walk away from it. And we need to recognize it as it plays out in front of us. Because like I said, it's coming out in the most subtlest ways. But if you can keep your eyes open and start really feeling into it, you're going to see this. And you'll see it in everything. But people have to be aware of it. And if they're not aware of the fact of how this is playing out, it's going to become really, really in their face. Because people are way too sensitive now. We're way too fucking sensitive. People are seeing this shit.
Hey, Danny, could I interrupt you just for a moment? I want to remind you of something you said a while ago. I remember.
You're muted.
Hey, that's no problem for me anymore. You just need to keep reminding me. You used to be the most go-getter, dig into the deepest.
Mute.
Every little conspiracy, this, that, and the other thing of anybody, and you did such a good job of it. You remember that, Danny?
Oh yeah.
I know you do. But then I can't remember about how many months ago it was, but you were in your postings, you were kind of saying, I don't understand what's going on. I don't want to do this anymore. Do you remember that as that time frame? I don't remember when it was, but I sure do.
Yep.
I mean, I remember you doing it, and I said, aha, on Danny. Well, I just want to remind you that that's part of what that's the beginning really for you, as I'm seeing it, of what you're talking about now. it's no longer for you and for people like you, who are most of the people, probably all of the people listening into this program right now, are coming to similar internal kinds of points of view. What those bastards are doing is not our concern anymore. Yes, we're aware of it. We see it. We're just, by our nature, we keep tabs of what's going on so we don't get by a flying brick, so to speak. Yeah, but other than that, as to go out there and trying to change them, you can't do it. They don't want to change. We all know this. So why waste our time anymore? And I think that kind of a point of view is dawning on us to varying degrees and levels, but I want to make it real strong with you in particular, and you as the example, because you were the strongest one I ever ran into that pursued this kind of stuff. I thought I was good, but holy shit, not compared to you. And you know what I'm saying. And even you, this has been a transition for you. It's not a completed job, but listen to what you're talking about today compared to what you talked about 6 months ago, or God forbid, a year ago. Yep. And the rest of us sitting here too, we were all, oh God, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh God, they're doing that. Remember all that CERN talk you got involved in, and we tried to figure it all out, and we still don't know, but we know they're doing something. But they're still doing it too. But anymore, it doesn't matter. It's more important to us to start manifesting, and this is what I know I'm 45 minutes late into this thing, but I can already tell where you all have been. And I got to say, yes, that's exactly right. And again, I wanted to make it personal with you, that I see it in you, and share that with everybody. She's not invisible, not to all of us.
You're cute, and I love you. Yes, that's the wise Maury. Thank you, Maury. Yeah, this is it. I can only share my personal experience and where I come from. So for me, this unity thing, this doing stuff now, even if it's the little things. For me, I know I'm getting called back into the maternal and infant health stuff. And I'm going to start taking a much stronger role in that locally here, because I'm here. And my help is needed. So I will put my time into that, in supporting breastfeeding and childbirthing and that kind of stuff. At the same time, there's stuff going on, and we're watching it unfold in front of us. And we can make a choice. And sometimes those choices come up in front of us every 5 minutes. And every 5 minutes, you just got to remake your choice. Because that's the way my fucking week has been. Definitely this week. We have to make a choice. In this moment, what am I going to focus on? Am I going to focus on being pissed off? I'm going to focus on arguing with someone, or I'm going to focus on being sad? Or am I going to focus on something to make me happy? To do what I feel I need to be doing in this exact moment. And it may not be the same thing every frickin' day. There may be, every day could be, hell, every hour might be a different thing that you feel that you need to focus on. Yeah, we have to watch what's going on around us in the world, because we still live in the world. Regardless of what we think of the world, whether it's a construct, whether it's a computer program, whether it's a fucking just a really, really fucked up planet, we still live in this world. So yeah, we have to be aware. And I'll use the example of Dawn, and I know Dawn's not here tonight. Flooded out there in Texas. She's a prepper. All her animals are looked after. She's looked after. I have no worries for Dawn, because I know Dawn's got her shit together. And I know that she's probably looking after everyone else's animals and all sorts of other people as well. We have to be aware of what's going on around us. Doesn't mean we have to pay energy into it. Doesn't mean that we have to get caught up in the massive spirals of negative energy that just are like, oh, and the destructive rhetoric and the programming. Be aware, but you don't have to partake in it, right? We can watch. We know what's going on with fucking Trump in North Korea, or this week it's Trump and God knows who else this week. I haven't been following the news this week that much. We know what's going on financially. We know this kind of shit that's going on. We keep an eye on it. We look at it. because sometimes your future decisions have to be made based on the reality of what's going on right now and wherever it is that you are. So we pay attention, but we don't pay energy into it. Yeah, no, Dawn is fine. I know there's no flooding in our house. We've got a couple of unfuckers who've lost everything though. We've got a couple of unfuckers in the group who've literally lost fucking everything in the floods in Texas. Yeah, Anna's lost fucking everything, and my heart goes out to her. Wow. I know maybe this is something we need to start our UU fundraiser and start looking at seeing what we can do to start helping everyone out, because God knows it's needed. Yeah, we've got to be responsible for ourselves now. There's just no other way around it. There's no other way around it. And the lessons are coming really, really fucking hard. And if we're not responsible for our actions and our thoughts and our words and our energy, then you know what? It's going to come back because people are going to see it as it is. Yes, Gail?
You were spot on, because my thing is, you can't be responsible for anybody's happiness. They have to be responsible for themselves. When they put that, going back to manipulation, when they put that pressure on you that if life's shit, it's because of you, you have to actually draw the line and step back and go, actually, no, you are responsible for yourself. So totally 100% agree.
Yep. You know, I mean, hey, if you're an asshole and you're making someone else miserable, that's a different story. But if people are looking after themselves and are responsible for their shit, which is going to, like I said, it's going to be getting really, really intense over the next little while, I think, then you know what? Yeah, we have to be responsible for ourselves. We have to be responsible for what we do. And we have to be responsible for our own happiness. We've thrown this, and I know we talked about this on Sunday. It's like, you know, you are the one you've been waiting for. We are the change, the ones who are going to bring the change and all the rest of it. The thing is it's not necessarily empty words. It doesn't have to be just empty words. And it should be the way we live our life. It should be the way we look at stuff. Stop waiting around for all these other things to happen and just do what you've got to do. Do what's going to make you happy in the moment. And do it right now. Now, time to make plans. Time to really, 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 really make plans. Oh, Deb, I know what you mean by some people going back 1,000 years. Yeah, I run into that. Run into that here quite a bit sometimes with some of the mentality here. Thank you, Catholic Church. We love you for that. Ah, yes. Anne, was there anything else that we were talking in? I'm just trying to rack my brain if there was anything else that we'd gotten into in this discussion.
No, I think the most important thing was just about being real with each other. And if you do send a bundle of horrible energy disguised as a love and light, just do something about it, you know, apologize or own it, say what you really feel, you know. I don't think there was anything else. I don't think so. Well, you were going to talk about manipulation. That was another thing. But.
Yeah, we will. And the one thing I wanted to just add on to this, what we were talking about with these super sensitive kids. I've got a bunch of super sensitive kids. And I've been watching them over the course of these over the course of the last few months, but especially this last week. And I'm watching how they're reacting. And I want to just kind of put it out there for you guys out there. If you've got sensitive kids, I've really noticed with my youngest that he has become very, very withdrawn into his imagination world. He He's all about watching animal programs right now, all about animals. And all he will talk about is the animals and how he wants one and how he's going to go to the Serengeti and he's going to find a baby cheetah and he's going to bring it back home and he's going to, hey, there's John. And he's going to raise this baby cheetah and he's going to, you know, and then the next day it's a peregrine falcon that he actually wants. He wants to have a peregrine falcon. It's the most important thing he can possibly have. And then when I talk to him, sometimes I have to talk to him 3, 4, 5 times to get through to him because he's withdrawn so far into his own self, into his own world, that on one level, it's very, very frustrating as a mother because you're like, okay, we got to do this, and we're going to do this. Okay, you got to get your shoes on. No, really, you have to get you have to get your shoes. Please put your shoes on. Oh, would you please put your shoes on, please? Didn't you hear me tell you 15 times to put your shoes on? But at the same time, I'm now looking at it and going, okay, that's how heavy the energy is. That's how it's affecting him. He's withdrawing in to himself to protect himself. So I'll put that out there for you guys out there, like to be aware of this. Watch these little tendencies because these are the ones we really need to give these guys extra support at this moment.
Yeah. They need to feel safe, Danny, because otherwise they'll just go and live in another dimension. So absolutely, trees are protection bubbles. We need to talk to our kids. We don't teach children about energy. We don't teach them about how to make themselves feel safe, how to put, extra energy duvets around themselves to kind of buffer the harsh energies that are coming at them. And they need to have, most of these kids need to have a lot, as do we actually, quite a lot of time out from other people, because when you're sensing, when you're in a very sensitive state, you're sensing into other people all the time. And the only time that you actually really rest is when there's nobody else in your space.
Yeah.
Because then you can let your energy body go down. And I often advise parents to make a nest corner for these kids where they're actually tented, where there's a cover over their heads.
That's a really good idea, Ann, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. Yeah, I know exactly where I'm going to build it too. Awesome.
Yeah,
I think that is really, and I'm talking from the term of children at the moment because the young ones, they don't necessarily have the tools that we have through just years of experience. But it's not just the young ones. It is grown-ups. I'm seeing people around me struggle. Really, really fucking struggle.
Yeah.
And we've got to be able to help them as well. And that's where comes into also like finding the language. Especially if you're dealing with people who are not aware of, energy and that kind of thing. Maybe we should even have a discussion on that one at some point in time in the future, Anna, about how we can convey to people who are not aware of things like that, how we can actually help them by giving it to them in a language they can comprehend.
Yeah, important.
Yeah. The whole manipulation thing, that was a theme that came up. Who was it who brought it up into the UU room? Yeah, it was Penny. It was you. Okay. Do you want to come out, Penny, and just give a little run-in? Because your opening thing about the whole thing about manipulation was a great conversation. The conversation that has come out has been really, really awesome. I don't know if you want to come out and just talk about that a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Penny.
Okay. It's a new headset, so I'm not sure how good it works. The whole thing is okay, everybody's being raised in a very manipulative atmosphere, my life, and then seeing going from MySpace to Facebook, seeing the manipulations happening there. And then now with the conspiracies, and behind every conspiracy is manipulation. But how susceptible are we? And what I was trying to get at was, because I was raised in a manipulative atmosphere, I could easily be manipulative or be manipulated. And again, I found myself manipulating. And it was my middle son who called me on it. I didn't even realize it. And this was like 20, 25 years ago. And he said, you know, Mom, you are so manipulative. And I just stopped. I was like, oh my God. And that's when I tried to restructure. But now I'm seeing it again come, and I'm taking care of the manipulator now. And all this manipulation just, it became very, very overwhelming, and I had to post it. I don't exactly know why I posted it, but I also wanted to know are there levels of vulnerability and things like that. It was such a complex, and we just kind of hit the surface of it, but it's a very complex topic.
Oh, it definitely is. And it's very interesting you bring that up, because I grew up with a very manipulative mom. Very, very, and very negative, pessimistic, and very manipulative. And at quite a young age, I recognized, like I was about 14, 15 when I really started to see, like, watch her do it to other people and then be able to spot it when she'd do it to me. And kind of work to counteract that. And then, you know, when you grow up with something like that, it's funny that you say that, Penny, because it's the same thing. I'd hear my mom's words come out of my mouth and go, oh, did I just say that? Oh my God, I can't believe I just fucking said that. That was even in the same tone of voice my mom would use. And you'd be like, whoa, 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 back up. Time out. Just do this over again. There's a lot of people who don't even recognize that they're doing it because they've been brought up in that household. They've been brought up that way. To them, it's just normal every day. It's how you interact with people.
Yeah, and so another thing, though, is, okay, sure, we can spot the huge manipulative narcissistic person and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know how to block against it and all this, or how to counteract it, all this. But honestly, Danny, I think we ourselves, no matter how strong we think we are, I still think we are being manipulated in some way. And it was really neat on the thread how it was David and Blair were starting to unravel it, and then David started, I don't know, he wanted to maybe manipulate it, I don't know. But they were really starting to unravel this, that because when I was young, I remember manipulation being about control and dominating, and it was such an aggressive word, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody looked it up, and I can't remember who. I'm so sorry if you're watching. But they defined it, and influence and manipulation are so close together. But I remember influence being about morals and ethics, you know, how you influence in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And sure, there's bad influence, yeah, but how close they are now And why are they so close together? So I'm just having to think, I'm just wondering, I think we're being manipulated more than we realize. Sure, we're catching half of it, but having to protect yourself 24/7 constantly from being manipulated online, on TV, on this, on everywhere can get exhausting. So we need to define it, contain it, and get rid of it.
Yep. Well, because as you said, 24/7, the ads on TV manipulate you. The newspapers manipulate you. Anything to do with media is designed to manipulate you, whether it's to buy a product, watch a show, feel a certain way about certain things, to have a certain viewpoint, to give you a perspective that they want you to have. Everything to do with politics is manipulative for the exact same fucking reasons. Even to the point of school is manipulative. Do your homework, you got to think like this, you have to do it this way, you must work it out this way, you don't ask questions, I'm going to make sure that you. So you're right, 24/7 you're surrounded by it. And there is positive manipulation. There is positive in the fact of, like, you do it with your kids when you manipulate them, when there's something's going on and you manipulate the conversation around to the point where you can kind of get them to go all of a sudden go, oh, I should have done this. And you go, yes, that's exactly how you should have done it. Or but that's still it's still a form of manipulation, right?
Well, now hold on. Would that be considered influence? Because you're trying to influence them. Now, that's what we were trying to get at.
If you're trying to get to a specific answer, if you're trying to get that child to answer a specific answer, then you are manipulating them.
Okay, yeah, because you're controlling.
You're controlling it. You're controlling the conversation so that they come to, even though they're the ones who come to the conclusion, you are the one controlling the conversation to get them to the point of making that conclusion.
Yeah, now, Lemon, and I wonder if Lemon can come on and talk, because she had, I think, one of the most spot-on responses. When she comes across manipulation, she just goes, right? No emotion, no anything. I still get emotional.
Yeah,
I still have that little ball in my gut that, or the hairs on the back of my end when I see or read or view manipulation, right? And so I'm wondering if emotion ties into our vulnerability. But Lemon, are you around? Can you talk?
Lemon, are you out there? I mean, I know you're out there, but are you out there? Can you come on?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, honeys.
How you doing?
I'm good. So, yeah, I had a very overbearing mother, and she was very manipulative. And like I said,
It's an unfucker thing.
I learned from the best when it comes to manipulation. I really did. And I have to admit that I have used my power of manipulation on people in the past. I have, before I learned the error of my ways. Now, what I want to tell you is this. Once you do start to recognize the fact that you are being manipulated, that's when you're able to say, you don't have to feel the emotional response to it. You can let that go. You don't need that anymore, honey. Now that you know it's there and you recognize it, you can just clear that right out and say, every time it happens. And if you do that, you'll actually feel better. It actually helps you feel better, oddly, to just say to the manipulation. Just really don't be manipulated. Especially by a loved one. That's the worst. That's the very worst. So And if it is the case, and I had the same thing that you have with your stepmom, and I said to my mom, I forgive you, but I have to warn you that I'm not going to let you manipulate me anymore from now on, and that's that. Essentially that's that. So from now on, I will laugh at you if you try. Just warning you. And I proceeded to do that every time she said something that was outrageous to me. I just laughed at her. And luckily, she had a good enough sense of humor, and I do think somewhere on some depth she loved me enough to want me to be an intelligent person, but,
Well, it's interesting because the whole thing, that plays into, and that's why I said to Penny, I said, oh, we're going to bring up the manipulation because it ties into what we were already talking about. In the fact of how much more sensitive are we all to manipulation now? And it comes into that when you become more sensitive into the things that we're already picking up the energetics of other things around us and what people actually are saying to us, when regardless of what the words are that they're speaking, that manipulation is another factor of it. When somebody's trying to manipulate you, a lot of times you go, really? Now, if they're really, really good at, I've met master manipulators who could convince you of shit that was so lovely and you just wouldn't see them coming, because they would be so warm and lovely about it, and the way, even though you'd end up doing what they wanted, like carrying their groceries or whatever the hell else it was, right? But we're becoming really, really sensitive to that. And that manipulation takes on a lot of different layers, right? From the gross manipulation like we get from the media, from politics, from schools, etc., to the very, very subtle manipulation that you get sometimes just one-on-one with people, where you just, sometimes it can be so fucking subtle. And now we're really picking up on it. Like, it's really becoming very, very in your face. You feel an agenda. Let's put it that way. You may not get the manipulation, but you feel the underlying agenda that someone is pushing on you, that they've got an ulterior motive. They have their own reason for wanting you to do X, Y, and Z. And it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with what they want you to do.
Danny.
Yeah, hon.
Hi. This is such a beautiful subject. I just wanted to mention, I read a book many years ago by M. Scott Peck called People of the Lie, and the underlying subtitle was The True Psychology of Human Evil. Now, I'm not saying that manipulators are all evil, because I honestly can say straight out loud that only up until about 2 years ago did I realize I always had an underlying agenda. I did not know this until I started saying to myself, oh my God, the things that I could do to try to manipulate this seeking of love and validation that I did not know came from childhood trauma. Once I saw it, it was like a huge slap upside my head, like, oh my God, I thought I was just such a great person, always trying to do right by people, always trying to be there and love and use my body, practically to the point of death, okay? Once you realize that really we all have a little sort of child in there that's manipulating others, that's trying to, be validated. And when we figure out that, hey, enough is enough, we are love. It's not even that we need it from the outside, because we are all just big balls of energy of love if we really look at the truth of it. And somehow understanding that and forgiving ourselves, I know that there's a lot of different types of manipulation that we all, at times have to forgive ourselves for. But for me, I think forgiveness was the key. And once you were able to do that and step out of the manipulation anymore, you're able to forgive others, that you can see what it is they're manipulating for. And sometimes it's not an awful thing. Sometimes it's just exactly what we all were looking for at one point.
Exactly. And I was just going to joke and say the fact of it, look, I've been trying to manipulate Ann and Brianna to move to Gozo for fucking months now. Seriously, hardcore. You can ask Ann how many times I'm like, if you were just over here, it'd be so much easier.
It's
not a negative.
Yes.
It's not for a negative agenda. It's like, I want my
an agenda
so that we can work together, because we got some stuff that we want to work on. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative agenda. Exactly.
And that's why I want to say that, the ones like you're saying, Danny, that's not, we're all manipulating all the time, but it is the underlying agenda we have to look at and be in tune with from others, because sometimes their motivation or their manipulation is not for a negative agenda. So I think that truly, when we are in tune with ourselves, we can also intuitively feel the underlying agenda of others. And sometimes it is nothing more than creative love or, whatever. And so Penny, just the fact that Penny just made a statement a few minutes ago that she's always looking at her own motivation, well, boom, that's done. To me, just that statement alone says, Penny, you're done. You're done with any kind of wrong type of manipulation, because just being aware or saying to yourself, I want to be sure of what am I doing here? Am I trying to take something from another? And love is the hugest thing that we can try to manipulate out of another person. That's like the worst thing we can try to manipulate, because that is massive free will that you're messing with there. So if you can forgive yourself, for saying, oh my God, it usually happens from childhood. We all go through different crap, and then we got to go through the hero's journey crap, and then we got to figure it all out, and it's okay. Forgiveness is key to me. That doesn't mean we have to stay in a manipulative situation, because I've even recently, with all these energies, turned around and walked away from an extremely manipulative situation for the moment, because sometimes we just have to.
Yep.
If another's not seeing themselves, and we can also, out of love, turn around and walk away, but send them a love bubble so that maybe they'll have the courage to see themselves and forgive themselves. Because anyway, that's all. I just had to say that because it's so important. I'm sorry, that was my phone buzzing. Sorry about that.
What the hell? Did someone just turn on a blender? Someone just turned on a blender.
Sorry.
It's okay. At least the screen didn't go black and nothing went crash. And if it does, time spot this, 12:43. So 1 hour, 43 minutes. Everyone check the video and we'll make sure, nothing weird happens there. Yeah. This is the whole thing. And we have to forgive ourselves too, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things that a lot of times, all of us, every one of us has gone through dark periods when you did things that you're not proud of, things that you wish you hadn't done, or actions that you used to do that you wish you hadn't done. But in seeing them and moving past them, you have to forgive yourself too, and not ride yourself so hard that you become to the point where you're afraid to take a step. You're afraid to make a statement. You're afraid to actually speak out, or you're afraid to interact with people because you don't want to, by chance, do it again. Sometimes, you gotta, be a little easier on yourself too. And it all comes down to truly that honesty thing. Do you know what I mean? Like that honesty and being responsible for yourself.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, Danny, is manipulation is like every other thing. You got your light and you got your dark. And that's what you have to sort of, work within the energies of that dual that's still going on. But yeah, even motivation, just like Hermetic law or alchemy or anything,
Yep.
It's the intention behind it.
Absolutely. And Patrick, yeah, is self-condemnation a form of manipulation also? It can be. If you continuously self-condemn in order to have a pity party so that people go, no, you're fine, you're okay, and you do it for that reason, well, yeah, then that's fucking manipulation. Right? I mean, and same thing. We've all played that card too. I guarantee it.
I'd like to say something to Teresa on this because she said a lot. One thing I think we all are aware, we were all raised, we all came into this earth as children.
Muted.
And we were taught the system. So we learned this.
Muted.
That was part of our upbringing and training. And so we.
Muted.
I know, I see it. We do know those things. We were taught them. We got skilled at them, and we didn't know any better. We thought that was the only way to go. What's happening? You guys are talking about it is the energies. You off and on, I hear comments about, oh, the energies have changed some kind of way. Well, part of that, I just did that myself. Well, part of that is those energies that we're talking about is us waking up, becoming aware. We're not those victims, just caught in the upbringing and the training that we used to be caught in and didn't know any better. We're learning, we're seeing the differences, and we're making choices. What with it's actually an empowerment that's going on with all of us. We're all becoming more self-empowered. We don't need 150 people to agree with us to know what the right thing for us to do is anymore. We don't need the herd. It's great if we've got it, but it's not necessary anymore. And this energy increase, this is part of how it's showing itself in our everyday actions. We're starting to take personal responsibility, where before we had the fallback position of, everybody else does it, that's all I ever know, it's because somebody did it to me when I was 5 years old. Those are all throwaway lines to avoid personal responsibility. I'm sorry to be so direct about it, but it's true. And all of us, we're sitting here and we see that. And that is, what is that? That's an expansion of awareness, an expansion of consciousness. That's what's really going on amongst us with these energy increases. No, we're not growing wings so we can fly across the ravine, but we're internally becoming more and more self-empowered, more and more self-responsible. And in the process, we're becoming bigger, greater beings than we ever have been before. And I do want to throw that out there. And I do want, don't beat yourself up for what you used to be. That's not you anymore. You fucking changed. You're in the process of change. I'm trying to describe an aspect of what that change is. There's much more to it. But this much I do know, and I wanted to share that with not only Teresa, but actually anybody else in there that, could hopefully profit from it. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yep, absolutely. And
yeah, I just wanted to say, Maury does know me, so thanks, Maury. I feel you. Thank you.
Awesome. That's an interesting point. Maury. We are not the person we were before. None of us are the person we were before. We may wear a similar looking skin suit, but we're not the person we were before. And dwelling on the past in that, and I don't want to say necessarily not just like that, oh, woe is me, but dwelling on the past, your past mistakes, constantly reliving them, et cetera, is putting ourselves back in the past. If you're truly past it, and I mean that in truly, you're aware of it, you're past it, et cetera, then you are a new person. And you're not that person you were before.
Hey, Danny, can I make a comment?
Yeah, Penny.
Okay. Now, it's very interesting you said that, because I don't dwell in the past a lot, but I do revisit it once in a while to see where my growth is. Okay. Now, okay, you know, when everybody was feeling really weird and something's going on and you were walking sideways and, you know, all this was happening. Okay, this is when this manipulation hit me. And it was just like, I'm so tired of it. And I went into, I meditated on it. Okay.
Yep.
And when I came out of the meditation, I felt like I did when I was that age. You know how you're still confused and hormonal and everything? I am 53 years old, so no, I am not hormonal, you know.
I'm
but
not
that whole chaotic mindset was there, and I'm like, oh my God, it made me feel so uncomfortable. I'm like, how do I undo this? How do I undo this? You know? And it did. It took me a few hours to get back. But why I bring this up? Everybody was feeling strange. Now, that's the first time that's ever happened, to where I'm engulfed in that past emotional state or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, you move on. That's how you do it, right? It was like living it. So what the hell happened? Something weird happened.
Yep. Well, Dawn?
I was going to add in to that.
Oh no, I can't hear you.
Talk up, Dawn. You're having one of your quiet moments again.
Well, I'm not really quiet. You know?
No, we know that. I'm saying your quiet moments. Notice that.
I look like total hell. Okay. So, in my experience, when these things come up, it's because there's unresolved issue. And, you know, as I stated on a previous show, it's why most of America is on antidepressants. You know, this process of the coming up is stifled. So when it comes up, know that it's leaving. It's obviously held on inside of you for a reason. So when it comes up, because people don't realize it's leaving, they'll get caught back up in it, and it becomes very sticky and murky, and it's all that field stuff. So in your mind, recognize it as it's part of that process of the lightening of the load.
Yeah.
And just you may experience the emotion of that moment, but it will just go. Just say bye to it, because that's what it's supposed to be doing. It's just that we're not trained to do these things. You know, as children, all children should be trained to meditate, should be trained how to define their field. You know, what makes them feel good. Hold that space. These are basic things that changed my life after addiction. I mean, huge things that are really not that hard to learn. But I've just come to realize that whole moving of the negative thought form energy, you know, whether that be associated with events or fragments that we still hold on to, you know, when it comes up, be grateful it's coming up. Just say, okay, great, it's coming up. Leave it. You know?
Let it go. Throw it out the window.
Yeah, I'll just say, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? And then I'll be like, okay, well, it's leaving. Goodbye. And I don't even, 5 minutes later, I won't even know what it is. Because I recognize the process. But unless somebody tells you, it's easy to get stuck in the crap. And then you start getting into that self-blame, like, well, why is this coming up again? Is there something I'm supposed to see?
Yep.
You know, that whole mental aspect, when in reality, your body's like, look, I'm just getting rid of this shit. I'm going to let it go. Now, the mind needs to let it go at the same time, and it doesn't work in sync. So the mind will push it back down.
Yep. And now we're all going to start singing the song from Frozen, right? No, we're not. We're really not going to do that. We've only got like 5 minutes left. Ha ha, typical. yeah, something happened. Something has gone on in this last week. This jumped us to another level or changed something. And someone brought up the 5G stuff. And I have really haven't looked into that stuff much at all. I do know that 5G is already rolled out in several places, to the best of my knowledge. Is it technologically linked? These woozy feelings and things going sideways, etc. It could be. I'm inclined to think no, because it seems that every time we kind of go through one of these really wild periods, other things come with it. Other things on a different level, or the kind of level that I don't perceive as being technologically based. I.e. things like all of a sudden realizing that you're that much more open to things. You're that much more bringing in other stuff and starting to integrate other things into our awareness. So yeah, you know, we know the chemtrails are there. We know the fluoride's there. We know the lithium in the water is there. We know all these things are there. And we can go out and we can do what we can, i.e. you drink bottled water or distilled water so you don't drink tap water that has fluoride in it. Or you do whatever it is that you feel you need to do through your research to do, you know, dealing with, you know, chemtrail type stuff. For me personally, I don't put a huge amount of energy into dealing with the unfucking of that, if you will. Personally. I eat well. I do what I do. I live my life. And I just think that I'm, you know, and maybe I'm being completely ridiculous and being not responsible for myself. But I'm not going to pay a huge amount of energy into worrying about 5G stuff. Here's one thing, I can't change it. I can't change it. I can't blow up all the 5G towers. So are you going to worry incessantly about something like this? We can't change the chemtrails right now. Like, i.e., you can't go live permanently indoors and never step a foot. Well, I guess you could go permanently live indoors and never step foot outside. So, but for the most part, you won't, right? So, I had this conversation with my son Logan just recently. Actually, I had it with my eldest daughter too. We choose what we're going to worry about. If you can't change it yourself, if there's something going on around you that you can't change yourself, does it really make sense to sit and spend all your energy worrying about it? If you can't change it, i.e., it's like, if you're worried about McDonald's, you can stop eating McDonald's. Right? If you're worried about fluoride, you can stop drinking fluoridated water. If you're worried about 5G, well, it's not really much, unless you're going to build yourself a Faraday cage and stay inside it, there isn't really much you can do about it. So I'm not going to pay a massive amount of energy to myself worrying about these Gwen towers and all of these kind of frequency things, because I personally can't do anything about it right now. So I can just keep myself healthy, and that's how I can live my life. I can make the choices that I can make to make myself healthy, to protect myself, protect my family, etc. Comes down to kind of like the whole thing about the research, right? We can dig in, I can dig in and go right back into researching. I've still got all my bookmarks for CERN. I can go look in the back wall of CERN and go see what they're doing and all the rest of it. I can't change it. I do keep an eye on it. I haven't opened up the CERN stuff in fucking 2 months, actually. But, you know, you keep a weather eye out of what's going on around you, because that makes sense. But decide what it is you're going to pay your energy into. I I make my own decisions, and those decisions can be changed daily depending on what my moods are. But yeah, I mean, be aware of what's going on, but I can't worry about I can't spend a massive amount of time and energy worrying about something that I literally cannot change or I can't do anything about. So that's it, guys. We're at exactly 2 hours. So we'll be back on Sunday for Transpicuous Views. Or I don't know, we'll decide what show we're going to put on Sunday. This was the Transpicuous UnFuckIt shows. There you go. Yeah. I will talk to you all on Sunday. Bye, guys.
That's one small step for man.